And welcome to come on, lady. Well, you can't do it in time. 4 women in a Zoom hotel room. Now you can't sync things up on Zoom.
So you also have to tell us what we're supposed to say.
Well, I mean, I thought you guys had muscle memory. Has it really been that long?
Well, it's like you can call it a couple of things, right? It's kind of like 4 women in an online meeting, 4 women in a not in a hotel room.
I know. I don't know. Well, we just, we don't know. Okay, so hold on. Now I have to fix something else. See, I am just learning how to do things. So.
Well, the whole pandemic's been great for tech skills.
Yes, that's right.
It's been 5 months since our last podcast, and it only took me 2 months to forget how to drive. So
wow.
Well, there you go.
Well, anyway, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Heidi MacDonald. I am the editor-in-chief of The Beat at comicsbeat.com.
Johanna Draper Carlson of comicsworthreading.com.
I'm Brigid Alverson of Smash Pages, Good Comics for Kids, and freelance writer for many outlets.
And I'm Deb Aoki. I write for Publishers Weekly and occasionally for ANN, Anime News Network, once in a while.
And here we are. So as you may know, we normally are rooming together or in a couple rooms or whatever, and we sit around and gab either for breakfast or last thing at night. And, maybe we have a glass of wine in a room. Certainly there are cookies involved, cake, potato chips, snacks. And so as you may know, we would be in San Diego this week, except for a little old thing called COVID-19. So we thought that we would still maintain our tradition of getting together since everybody's in a Zoom room now and, just chit chat. So yeah, ladies. So yeah, the last time it was me, Johanna, and Brigid in Chicago. And then Deb and I were podcasting with a world from Angoulême and Brussels and
oh, that was magnificent.
Yeah, I don't even remember where. But yeah, so what's everybody been doing of late?
Oh my goodness, well, a lot of this.
Yeah.
I put together 2 panels, but basically what that meant for this year's Comic-Con was not me staying up all night working on my PowerPoint the hours before I'm actually running to the hall. This time I had to do it a month in advance. And then I have to spend the whole weekend learning how to use Premiere Pro. So yeah, it's different.
Yep, new skills.
Yes, for sure. I'm going to do a little blatant self-promotion here. I have just turned in, so it'll be running soon, an article for School Library Journal. It's on civics. It's on graphic novels about civics. First Second is rolling out their World Citizen graphic novels. Abrams did a beautiful one called Drawing the Boat. A couple more in there. Some really interesting resources. I have learned more about the Constitution in the last 2 weeks. I can't even tell you. And actually, I started with our Sikori Act. Bob just did the Constitution for Drawn and Quarterly. And those of us who are familiar with his work knows what he does is he basically does this great pastiche of work by other people. So it's the Constitution as performed by, superheroes and Raina Telgemeier kids and, the Dog Man people and Nancy and Sluggo and Mutt and Jeff. And it's just amazing.
Oh my goodness, because he did the same thing for the Apple terms and conditions. That was just hilarious.
It's actually much more interesting and very dramatic. Like when they talk about impeachment, they're like throwing somebody out a window. And then they, at the end,
all wish we could.
Defenestration of the United States. And then, well, they do it in Russia. Apparently people are flying out windows in Russia. So, and then at the end, he lists all his, every single page that it was inspired by, every comic and creator, it's very, very cool. And the first, second books are fantastic. There's one called Fault Lines in the Constitution that is, they talk about where the Constitution came from, the convention, and then they take a series of concrete problems. Someone trying to get a law passed, like federal anti-lynching legislation or something. It gets gridlocked. They go back to the convention. We spy on the founding fathers as they're arguing about all this. And then we go back to the present day, and they look at alternatives. It's an absolutely fantastic book. And there's a lot in there for anybody. This is obviously a very fraught year, but this is a handbook I'm going to keep by my side. Right
that
next.
One ships in a couple months, I think, because I think it was just in the latest Diamond previews.
Right. Yeah, no, it's not. I got an advance copy. And, there's a couple other good ones. Drawing the Vote is great. And, I always come back to, and I read it and reread it, March, because as I've been saying since November 2016, March is a handbook. It's not just a memoir. And I have learned an incredible amount from it. I have actually practiced.
Nice.
Like, you've got to read book 3. It's all about the Voting Rights Act. Everybody reads book 1. Read book 3.
Yeah. It's funny. I literally just a couple of hours ago did a live stream with Nate Powell. Oh, yeah. And he was on our Comic Beat Insider live stream that I do. And it's really gracious of him to join us because he tweeted and he talked about it a little bit. John Lewis wasn't just, his collaborator. He was a friend. And I'm sure he's been overwhelmed being asked to do things. And, it was really, really great. But I mean, oh my God, he's so awesome. I mean, he's just so articulate and passionate about his work. And yeah, it was really great.
Yeah, that was a great combination to have him team up with Andrew and with Mr. Lewis, Senator Lewis.
Yeah. Johanna, what have you been up to?
Work.
No, Johanna, you have a secret life. Now, come on.
I do. Well, I'm kind of experiencing my second fandom childhood and just totally geeking out over things that are not comics. Although I did find one that was slightly comics related. I've been diving deep into Sherlock and making friends with UK fans, and that's great because they are awake in the middle of the night because it is 6 hours ahead there, and it's really bringing home the sort of internationality of the world now. And you can talk to anybody online. But yeah, I've been just being a total fan, which is why I was looking forward to this being the year of cons for me, because I was going to go to cons for the first time. I can't remember if I last went to San Diego in 2003 or 2006, but it has certainly been much over a decade. So I was looking forward to seeing all y'all there and going to the show again and seeing how it had changed and trying to get over my fear of crowds. And yeah.
Well, yeah, you listen, when you do have cons again, I don't think you'll have a fear of crowds because, yeah.
We'll see if they ever come back. I was just telling Heidi that my day job work, IT company has declared that we'll be working from home at least through mid-January now. They've set it out that long. So clearly they do not expect things to recover anytime soon, which is, I think, the right decision and a very sensible decision. But it does bring home that, we're all in this for the long haul. So.
Oh yeah. But Brigid, you will be working from home, or will you?
Well, I'm retiring. So actually next week is my last week of work.
Wow.
Yes, I am bidding farewell to the municipal world. I'm still going to be busy. I'm still going to be causing trouble. And if there's going to be a mom's wall in Boston, you'll see me on it. But it's no problem because I have so much writing to do that I could just do nothing but write for the rest of my life. So there we go. It's probably what I'll do. Actually, I've been reading and I've been writing and I've been reading and I've been writing, which is great. I'm looking forward to not being interrupted by the stupid day job anymore. So
it's amazing to have the full power of Brigid Alverson unleashed.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, evildoers, beware.
Yes, here I come. So my first time at Comic-Con, though, was in 2012. And as I was sharing with you guys earlier, like I remember sitting out I roomed with Deb. And we were like in a hotel. We're kind of by the airport, and I was like looking out. The last evening, I was on our balcony looking out at the boats. It was very cool. I had a jacket on, and I called home and I said, "How's everything there?" And my husband said, "Well, it's 90 degrees and it's really humid, and cats are back because every July we have an invasion of these teeny tiny ants that get into everything." This was. So this year I get to experience the ants, the heat, and the humidity again.
Nice. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Johanna.
I was going to say, y'all know that I'm married because of San Diego, right?
What?
Yeah.
On romance?
Yeah, well, no, it's so Casey and I have been married 21 years this year.
Wow.
We dated for 3 years before that. And one of the reasons we got together was because he went to the bar, which he never did at San Diego on the last night. And I asked him to sit with, we had this mixed group of fans and pros. At that time, I had not even gotten into comics officially, but I was a huge Legion of Superheroes fan, which he edited. And we sat down and I said, we've been talking about comics all week. What else would you like to talk about? And he said, Britpop. I said, I don't know what that is. He said, well, it's bands like the Monkees. And I said, I wrote my research paper on the Monkees, and it all went from there. So I've forgotten the San Diego story, actually. So sorry about that.
That's really sweet. And, I met my ex-husband at a con too. So, romance does happen at a con. I mean, we've seen all these Me Too stories, which are horrible, and absolutely. And, we could talk about this for hours, but, there's a lot of professional organizations that are, people are talking about having a union or a guild or some kind of professional organization. And I do think we're going to see some changes to the BarCon culture. If we ever have BarCon again, honestly, that's going to be a few
I
years.
think BarCon's going to always happen. There's no stopping that.
It may not be a con.
What's going to stop happening is it's going to stop being acceptable to grope people, no matter how drunk you are.
Yes, I think that's right. Because I think people do meet their life mate, or temporary life mate at bars, at conventions. That's just a fact that happens,
It's socializing. People are going to do that. We all have this thing in common, and we're all there at one place, and it's outside the normal life. It's a vacation for a number of people. It's work for others. That's where it gets complicated, is because for different people, it means different things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think you're absolutely right there. We just need to make it I think it's like with cosplay, I think cosplayers started out maybe, cosplay is not consent was an idea that was introduced, and now it's universal. And I think, BarCon is not GropeCon. It needs to be the idea that we all. Yeah. Okay. Well, there we go. All right. It's not for me.
The problem isn't BarCon. It's people using alcohol as an excuse to lose control, right? It's a matter of not being able to maintain yourself, or not having friends that maintain, okay, time for you to go back to your room now.
Yeah, that's true.
So
many of us who get into these nerd spaces are basically not the greatest at reading the room.
It's true.
It just leads to all kinds of problems. It's like not I don't think anyone's a perfect at being social, but and I think there's always going to be mixed signals. As someone who's like, ooh, she's into me, and she's like, oh my God, like people, sometimes completely misread each other, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and this is an idea that I think I surprised Brigid and Heidi when we were talking at C2E2, because I've just gotten way back into fanfic, and I have read much of it and written some. But the idea that a lot of what I read is very explicit about both safe sex and consent.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And for older people, that might be sort of unusual, because I grew up reading really bad Harlequins, but the whole idea of you tag it, people choose what they want to read. If they don't like the idea of certain things, they stay away from it. But that you express consent is sexy, and that's important, is something that some people still need to learn.
Yeah, it is. It's very much, a change in socialization. And it's changes need to be made. Do not get me wrong. Changes definitely need to be made. And, it's a pretty painful process, but I think we're seeing some hope. Well, I see our guest is here. So I'm going to let him into the room here. We're letting a man into the 4 women space. So, but because it's Comic-Con at home, all the rules are out the window and anything goes, really. So,
which is the attitude that's the problem we were just talking about.
Yes, you're right. So nothing goes. Everything is very much not goes. So, welcome Leonard Sultana, otherwise known as An Englishman in SDCC.
Indeed. And I'm not, and it's really upsetting me.
I know.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So Leonard, you and I, I'm sure all of us have run into each other at events and so on and so forth. But you live in England, right?
Yeah.
Where do you live?
Well, if you could imagine the kind of the M1 running down the middle of the country and the M62 running across the middle. I'm right in the bullseye. I'm right in the middle of the country.
Wow.
So I'm in Yorkshire, in between Leeds and Bradford in Yorkshire. In the UK.
Nice. Well, how did you start going to Comic-Con? It's quite a long trip.
Yeah. Well, 2010 was my first. It was the centerpiece to my honeymoon. It was going to be a one and done. It was going to be a bucket list thing. Myself and my now wife, Caroline, we'd seen all the hype and videos, and I think we'd followed all the pop culture news and all the comics news that was coming out of Comic-Con over the years previous. And in 2010, 2009, when I proposed, when we were arranging the wedding, I said to Caroline, would you be interested in going to Comic-Con for our honeymoon? And she said yes, because she's a big fan of genre TV and genre films herself. So she was up for it. And like I say, it was supposed to be a one and done. It was supposed to be just 2010. And we pretty much fell in love the second we hit the town. I mean, number one, the city's it's a beautiful city anyway. San Diego is a very nice place to go visit. It was our first time in California, first time US visit, so it really was year of first. So okay, so maybe there is that rose-tinted spectacles thing.
No, there's no ifs and buts. San Diego's awesome. It's really lovely.
So we did that, and as I was walking through the sales pavilion on the Sunday, I had $200 in my back pocket for holiday spending money. And at that point, you could just go up to a desk and buy the badges for next year's convention. And I bought them without actually asking Caroline. I caught up with her at Ballroom 20, sat next to her, which she was at a Sons of Anarchy panel. And I said, well, would you be up for coming back again? And we were addicted. We just kept going back. So that's how I started it. Centerpiece for my honeymoon.
But then you also started blogging about it, right? You started your whole writing about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, what's happened over the last decade? It's quite shocking when I think about it. Just how far I've come and what I've done since that first San Diego Comic-Con. 2011, I started a vlog, which was basically just to document my trip to San Diego, because that first year, I definitely noticed there was a lot of Brits in the audience and lots of people up on stage with the British accent. You could hear sort of like Newcastle and Cornish accents wandering around, and you heard them coming. So I first started out putting a Facebook group together, trying to find other Brits that were going out. But then I did the vlog, which was just to document my journey to San Diego, because it's a different prospect to get from here to California. It is an expensive prospect. It's difficult to kind of get your head around, and also work out back then, certainly the mechanics of actually attending Comic-Con.
Yeah.
So set the vlog up, and then in 2011 set up the UK attendees group. 2012, I then moved the vlog to an actual blog, because I was starting to get a lot of information through, and I was imparting. I was on a number of forums, and I ended up being somebody who was finding out all this information myself. And instead of just kind of sort of like dropping in on various forums, I thought I'll set up a blog and put it all up there. Shooting myself in the foot, of course, because you then have to go to those forums to let them know that the blog exists. So ended up doubling the work, but still. 2013, first year as press. 2014, first year as volunteer staff, because I volunteered the year before. Ended up crewing room 2, which is the Artist Alley room upstairs. Gave apparently Jim Lee the best rock and roll intro on stage that he's ever had at Comic-Con. 2015, first panel I got invited on, which was about blogging and that relationship and the developing of a relationship with an audience. 2016, my first ever Comic-Con panel host, and it was my first actual it was my first con panel international as well. It was my first time behind a lectern hosting a panel, and it was at San Diego Comic-Con. It was the British Invasion. So I had David Lloyd, I had Paul Levitz, I had Kieran Gillen. I was supposed to have Dave Gibbons and Paul Jenkins joining by Skype, and 2 minutes before the panel started, internet crapped out upstairs. So we kind of worked our way through it, but good time, good panel. And it's just grown from there. I've started becoming a panel host here in the UK. So I've done MCM, I've done not Thought Bubble, not yet, working on that. The fact that how it's just develops, and each year things just keep growing. And
isn't that just the magic of it, though? I mean, that is really the magic of Comic-Con for all of us, you know. It's sort of like before you came on, Johanna was talking about how she met her husband at a table talking about, you know, Britpop, actually, full circle. And just, you know, how, I mean, that's just a great story. Like, let's go on a vacation lark, and now you're hosting panels, you know? And, but I mean, I guess that's why we miss it so much, right? Because of all the magic of what might happen. Absolutely.
I mean, the thing that I always tell people when I try and describe just the magic and the appeal of San Diego Comic-Con, it isn't it is a trade convention. At the end of the day, it's a bunch of businesses that are trying to sell you and make you informed about things. So it's people on the other side of the table trying to hawk their wares and, you know, whatever, and sell their stuff. But for me, it's not San Diego Comic-Con that's held at the convention center. It's San Diego Comic-Con held in San Diego, and the city is just one big party. And it's I'm not necessarily missing the content, which is where this year is particularly interesting and difficult, because it is all about content, because that's all there is.
True.
It's not. It's about the friends, the community, and that's the reason why the podcast that I do on a Sunday, it is about the community coming together and kind of celebrating these events that we go to and enjoy.
Okay, let's all cry now. Yeah, I mean,
that's really nicely put, by the way. I've been feeling a little empty this past week.
Yeah,
I miss a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, how are we all just feeling? Honestly, like, how are we all just feeling about this? I mean, look, I my first San Diego Comic-Con was 1985. So what is that? 35 years? Yeah. So first time in 35 years I haven't been.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think the thing that's kind of struck me is the community, certainly, that I have, and the friends that I've made on Twitter, on Facebook, and all the various social medias, we've all come together. So we're all kind of like in this kind of like virtual group hug at the moment. There's a definite sense of we're all supporting each other with memories, I mean, the one element that's really starting to be that lemon squeeze right in the wound is Facebook memories.
I know, right?
Dropping in every morning.
Yes,
oh, by the way, do you remember that 4 years ago you did this, and 6 years ago you did this, and you met this person?
Yeah, I know. So, you know, Deb has to go. She has to go to another meeting. So real fast, Deb, before you go though, what are some of the real specific things that you're going to miss? What are you missing? Like, just in your heart, what are you missing?
I gotta say, James Killen posted something about Cafe 222, and that made me hungry for pancakes in such a big way. Oh my God. And I also just miss seeing everybody, you know. It's like especially in small press, I miss seeing Paul Horn. I miss seeing I miss just seeing like what's new, and just the energy in the air. I don't miss spending a ton of money.
Yeah, that's true.
But I do miss being there, and I mean, I appreciate that they're doing all this to make it a virtual con, but there really is no substitute for being there.
No, it's just magic. It's just magic. Well, Deb, we are doing this again on Saturday, same time. Okay, so we'll have more news, breaking news, industry gossip, everything that you know and love from 4 women in a hotel room. So, all right.
So now it's be 3 women and one Brit.
One man, yes, one Brit, yes.
It's the first time I've been invited into a hotel room with 4 women. In today's climate, that's a very strange thing.
This is probably the safest way to do it. Also,
this is right.
Very possible, yeah.
It is. Well, we thought we would break with tradition this year because it's virtual. So
fair enough.
All right, I'll catch you later.
All right, take care.
Bye, Deb. Yeah, I'd like to second what Deb said, which is that, I mean, I first went to San Diego sometime in the mid-90s, and as I mentioned earlier, quit going sometime in the mid-2000s. So what I'm missing is a sense of anxiety because I no longer have to worry about how it is to go back. But what I loved about the show, the times I did go, was the discovery. And instead of rushing off to the next whatever, it's, enjoy the conversation you're having, enjoy the person you've just met, enjoy what you're learning about in terms of discovering works or creators. And you can't do that virtually. I mean, I know they're putting together lists of creators and things, but that just becomes overwhelming, and you don't have that visual impact and that friend saying, "Oh, come with me," and dragging you off to this booth and
Right.
look what I've just discovered and so forth. So.
Yeah.
I just met Leonard, so hey, new friend. Hi.
Brigid, what are you missing?
I'm flashing back to, again, that first time that I went and taking the shuttle bus in with Deb on the first day, and the bus kind of goes around a curve, and all of a sudden there's it's like the carnival has come to town, and I agree. It is that feeling of like, these are our people and this is our world. And yeah, it's about seeing people. There are people that I only see a couple times a year because I see them at cons. I mean, you guys, but also like a lot of creators and people in the business. And it's so much like just saying hi to people, bumping into people, let's go get a drink, and just the feeling of so much celebration of all this craziness that we love. And then walking along the marina. San Diego is really beautiful.
Yeah.
Walking along the marina at night and just sort of looking out there.
I mean, one of the things I'm really happy about over the last, say, 4 or 5 years that when we've gone, because my daytime job is I'm a DJ. So I go and play music at people, but it also means there's no real tight employment schedule as such. I can take 2-3 weeks out of my time, and my wife was able to, before she got a promotion this year, to actually do the same. So we were actually able to do 3 weeks, and one year we did 4 weeks, did a full month in San Diego. We did the 2 weeks before, we did the con, and then the week after. And number one, certainly the week after, when the circuses rolled out of town.
Oh yeah.
And they pretty much kick Comic-Con to the curb by Monday afternoon.
Oh yeah.
Which is a weird one. But no, the town itself, the city, it is a beautiful city to go and visit. So, and the area.
It really is. I mean, I would say the things I miss. I mean, there's just hundreds of things I miss. Specifically food. I mean, I miss. It used to be called Lion Coffee. I think it's called Lanai Coffee now. I know Deb went with me. I don't know if Johanna. Well, Johanna hasn't because this was to be her big return. But yeah, Lanai Coffee. They have these acai bowls that are just like, I remember last year, like, the week before Comic-Con is like hell week. And then you just don't sleep. Like you don't sleep the whole week before when you're preparing, especially if you're like me, you're running your own, you're a huge operation, I mean, you're running an operation. And like, I usually take the really early flight out on Tuesday morning, which is 8 a.m., which means I got to leave the house at 5 a.m., which means I don't sleep. I literally don't sleep the night before, which is a horrible way to begin the con. And what I do is I get to the hotel, I take a nap, I just lie. If I can, I'm so excited. I can't even sleep, even though I haven't slept, right? But usually I force myself to take a nap. And then I remember last year I did that. I lay down, took a nap. And of course I'm tossing into it. I can't really sleep. And then I'm like, you know what? I got to go to the Lanai Coffee. And I got like a gigantic acai bowl and a huge Kona cold brew coffee. And I sat in our little balcony and I ate that. And I was just like, this is great. I was so happy in that moment. It's just like that, the struggle. I think that's what I really love about San Diego now is it's like running a marathon. It's like that feeling that you get when you set yourself a goal to achieve this. And when you do, it's just the greatest feeling. And along the way, you get to see the most amazing people and, be in this beautiful city. So
this year, does it feel, instead of like a full-blown Boston or New York marathon, it's a nice little jog around the park? It's just a little bit, slightly less stressful.
Well, I still managed to have a very stressful week. Like my printer died, my keyboard died. There was some insect problems in the house, which I will not go into. And I got caught in a rainstorm, and yeah, it was, I don't know. I've had a very stressful week. I'll tell you the other thing I was thinking about that I will miss is just like, all right. I mean, we're talking about BarCon earlier. I am part of the post BarCon. Usually some people hang out on the water. Last year it was on a yacht. That was amazing. And usually Brian Azzarello is there, and he wears the weirdest costume. Like has anyone ever seen Brian Azzarello in his little elf costume? Listen, yeah, I miss it. I just miss it dearly. What can I say?
Oh.
Yeah.
I just love like having lunch by that tiki bar by the Marriott, like having a nice salad, looking out, sitting at the table. Everybody comes by and says hi. That's that's kind of one of my first day little rituals.
Yeah.
Just going there.
Well, anyway, we'll be back. And I think one thing that's really nice this year is that the city and the convention center posted that video, like "We Miss You, Comic-Con," right?
Oh,
and there's a shrine like to Comic-Con in front of them fish. And
I'm not entirely sure about the shrine, to be honest.
I'm
not
yeah?
gonna lie. I think the optics of that are a little bit unsettling. I mean, I have no problem with celebrating convention, having an area where people put photographs of favorite memories or whatever, but flowers, that didn't sit 100% with me.
See, the weird thing for me is that the show y'all are describing is not the show that I remember. I mean, it has changed so much over the years. Brigid, you said something about finding our people. When I started going to cons, that as a woman, that was not the case. It was still rare enough for some of the shows I went to, they would remark upon it specifically and start quizzing me on how much I knew about the Legion of Superheroes because, oh my God, you're not reading Sandman or ElfQuest or Strangers in Paradise.
That's right.
The other girls.
So it's really neat it's almost like you're describing a different show to me. And I was looking forward to checking it out. But yeah, I had sort of quit going right before the big media explosion. Oh, look, this is a whole group of people we can go show things to and exploit. So, and I think when I was going, Heidi, you probably remember this better than I do, the city was not always very happy to have
That's right. Show. That's right. It wasn't. And I think it's, look, as a New Yorker, it's like, do we love St. Patrick's Day? No, we don't. So, I mean, I get it. I get not enjoying this influx of, out-of-towners who, drink and pee and puke.
And money, though.
And what?
Spend money.
Yeah. Well, that's it. The money spending eventually took over.
Right. Yeah, that's what changed everybody's minds. Yeah.
So the first time, I had always been terrified of going to San Diego for two reasons. One is that I was always terrified of flying, and I live in Boston. And the other was that it just like everybody was like, oh, it's so crowded, nobody goes there anymore, And then actually the first time I was in San Diego was when I was an Eisner judge. And like the whole weekend that I was there, we'd walk around and Jackie would point out like, over here is where you do this, and over here is where you do this, and Brian, And so I sort of felt like I had my bearings and I could handle it. But what I found is that I don't actually get overwhelmed. In fact, the first time that I was there, I was like, can we do a 6th day? Because I know I'm the only person who ever says that. Because to me, it's like I have my own private Comic-Con. Like I filter out all the stuff that I'm not interested in, which is basically all the movie and TV stuff. So I've never been in Hall H, never. But so to me, it's comics. It's the comics booth and the comics people. And if you stick to that part of it, it's very accessible still, no matter how many, hundreds of thousands of people are there. You can still, the convention center is pretty easy to navigate, actually. Certainly easier than the Javits. And if you just stick to the comics piece, it's you're not standing online for Funko Pops or anything. It's really a very easy con.
Yeah. That's what I regret about now that I've gotten back into fandom for a canceled show. That's what I regret not going last decade is some of the times that they made appearances, and you can look them up online, and you're probably hearing it better than you would if you were in Hall H when it got to be super huge.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, I'll be honest. Hall H is, it's pretty addictive once you start going. And, we got like into the press line and like we got there crack of dawn. So I was in the front row for a couple of years for the
Woo!
Warner Brothers panel. So that was pretty incredible.
I did my first press line, I was invited into the press line by a couple of friends from, I think, Collider, kind of ushered me in. And that was the last one I went to, which was 2018, because we unfortunately had to skip last year. And this was on the Saturday. It's the big Warner Brothers presentation. It's Fantastic Beasts. It's Aquaman. It's all of that. I actually didn't enjoy it as much as I had done when I had camped out overnight.
Really?
To get in. Yeah, because I didn't feel I'd earned it, if that makes sense. I didn't feel like I made my passage to get into the room, or certainly down to the front third.
But that's the marathon idea that I was just saying. It's like that achievement. Achievement unlocked.
Yes. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
That's worth it.
You find that across the whole convention as well. I mean, just the achievement of getting from the Manchester Grand Hyatt, or what was the Manchester Grand Hyatt, all the way down to the Marriott, and doing it in a record time. That's an achievement. And managing to get from A to B.
Wait, why did you say what was the Manchester Grand Hyatt?
As far as I'm aware, it's not the Manchester Grand Hyatt anymore. It's a different brand. It's been renamed.
What?
Okay.
Leonard has a scoop that I don't know.
No. This is it's certainly within the last year. But as far as I'm aware, I mean, they've certainly done out the bar as well, which I know a lot of the creatives that stay there are not happy about. But they've done a bit of renovation work. And as far as I'm aware, it's a different management that own the building now. So I think it might be the Manchester, just not the Hyatt.
Well, that was the big story last year. All right, I have to give. Boy, this is to the computer as soon as it's over. So the big story last year was that the Hyatt bar was closed, and which
as long as you didn't go to Kansas City Barbecue, you were fine.
Oh, gross. But no, it was horrible. I mean, it's like we were just like taking these videos of like this empty what used to be the Hyatt, and then I talked to my doorman or the bellhop as I was leaving, and he said that of course they'd done it on purpose. Like they just didn't, because it was just such a scene there. Like there was just just the crowd that was in the lobby, and they had like a meeting of all the big wigs from the Hyatt were coming in another month, so they wanted to have it ready for them, or it was some bullshit. But so that was this year. See, that could be like what you're hinting at. It could be devastating, like that whole socializing could be gone. Talk about changes in BarCon.
Well, I mean, we've had all that discussion over the last 2-3 weeks, which, I mean, we could talk. I mean, if anything, the one thing that I'm kind of glad that there's a year where we've got a moment of pause is the whole discussion for the last 2-3 weeks, what BarCon and what has happened in previous years. So, if anything, I think we've now got at least another 12 months to get people's houses.
That we say that now, but I guarantee when it's safe to go to a bar, it's going to be everybody just crammed in there. I mean, nobody's going to hold back. I mean, come on. Like I just.
Yeah, but what has changed, I think, is the unwillingness of other people to tolerate it.
Yes.
I mean, some of the stories that we're hearing, I mean, I have heard stories similar for the last 20 some years. And what would happen decades ago is somebody would be brave enough to say something, and a lot of male fanboys would shout them down and demand names and demand proof. And there were not enough supportive people to say, it's okay, we believe you.
Right.
Yeah.
That has really changed.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm sorry to be the bummer, apparently.
No, but I mean, it's 100% true, and when I'm last San Diego, I got to have my party, which Brigid didn't go to, and Johanna didn't go, and Leonard didn't go. So I'm the only one who was there. So nice. But so I got to have I know, I had my dream party, and when I do throw a lot of con events and birthday parties and so on, and I invite people, but I will say I do keep an eye on things. Like if I see maybe somebody's gotten button hooked or something with somebody that I know, I go and I just, see if somebody needs a break, or if I see somebody's become a little too bibulous, or has had too much to drink. If somebody's had too much to drink, I try to isolate that person and try to, that's what a host should do. And I think like all of us, like I do see a lot more accountability coming on all levels for this, so that when we do get together again, it's safer.
My only fear is, you were talking about how it's the conversations evolved since over the last 2 decades. My concern is over how the conversation has evolved over the last 2 years. Yes, there are people who are willing to step up and support and believe victims and help and shine a light on these cockroaches where they can. But my fear is that in 2020, and certainly over the last 2, 3, 4 years, the metabolism of the news, we move on to the next story 24 hours later. Things get forgotten, and things get kind of like not brushed under the rug, but just moved on to the next story. And I'm hoping that enough noise has been made on this occasion that, the fact that there's been no accountability. Yes, Brownstein resigned, and
years later.
Come on, there's more. There's accountability. You can't just walk away from the gig and effectively get away with it. I'm just okay. Sorry, I'm bringing things down.
No, but I mean, to be honest, this is the world we're living in right now.
Well,
and
for some people, not being able to work in comics anymore is the worst punishment you can give them.
Yeah.
Because some people got into a job and were going to stay there until they died or were removed. Because for a while, things are changing. Kickstarter has enabled a lot more people, but there were only so many jobs and so many positions. And once you got in there, people were basically barnacles. So I understand what you're saying, and you have a very good point, and I'm not trying to minimize it. But I'm also, again, it's very generational, I think. It's very much what are people willing to put up with now that they weren't before?
I agree. And I think the influx of not only women, but talented women who make best-selling comics makes a huge difference too. The fact is that a lot of the most exciting creators are women. It's not like a dude space anymore. And so therefore the mores are changing, and they're young women. They're not going to take this crap.
Yeah, absolutely. It's totally become, and integrated, and so in all different ways, and also just like, the acceptance of queer fans and all that, the celebration. The thing about San Diego is that it really has always been a celebration of a lot of marginalized groups, though. And
it's one of the reasons why killing Caroline, because like I say, we go the week before, she can't go to Pride because she volunteers at Pride. She's killing her that she's not doing Pride this year.
Right. Yeah. And but it's like, it's always been very, very queer friendly at San Diego, and also for the disabled. It's always been, their disabled services. I know there are complaints about it every year, but they also make more of an effort than any other convention. And, there's always room for improvement. But it's just so aspirational. I had talked about, like, I watched Comic Book the movie. Has anyone ever seen that? It's the Mark Hamill movie.
I think I've seen most of them. Which one's that?
It's a Mark Hamill directed it and stars in it. It's from 2002.
I think I've seen half of it.
It's not the greatest movie, but it has a lot of charm. But I watched it, and it was filmed in 2002, and like the signage is exactly the same. It's just it is like if you just took time travelers and put them in there. Like the clothes are different, the costumes are different, but the setting is exactly the same.
It was Adam Hughes. I think it's Adam Hughes' other half, Alison, who because I've been doing a hashtag basically for people to respond with their photo from their first comment, and Alison posted a picture of her and with Adam and with Bill Sienkiewicz as well, and shy of the fashions, everything's exactly the same.
Wow. What's the hashtag? I got to check this out. Find mine too.
Yeah, SDCC, my first SDCC.
Okay. I'll have to check that out. So where do we think cons will go from this? How will they come back?
Well, I think that for me, I'm going to jump right in. Sorry. That plays into the whole, what you were talking about earlier in terms of what are we doing for con now? Because what they've put online is a bunch of promo stuff. And I'm not particularly interested in watching many of the panels because the interaction is always what I was there for. And there's something to the live experience. If it's just going to be a bunch of people going, buy my comic and here's why, that's overwhelming already. So I don't know. I was trying to explain to an online fan friend who's never gone to a convention how there are so many different kinds of cons these days. Well, she's not a comics fan. And there's the Disneyland type where you go and you spend a lot of money on trinkets and you stare at people in costume, and that's kind of your Wizard World. And they're putting some of that virtually for professional interaction, which we can talk about. There's the art show where you talk directly to the creators, which is your SBX, your TCAF, those kind of festivals, and those I love because you're actually interacting with the people who make the stuff. And then there's the sort of nostalgia fest. Where you're like, hey, look, I can get a signature from somebody who was in a movie I loved 20 years ago. Various of these experiences can be replicated, but the thing we love, the interaction, the seeing the friends, the going out for food together, that's something that you've got to have in person, that you've got to have. And I would be curious to know what people think about the whole, we're going to put a panel online and then we will sell you 2 minutes talking directly to this person. That's what Wizard's doing.
Who's doing that?
Wizard.
Yeah,
Wizard is doing a number of virtual experiences. And the one I got today said, meet cast members from Marvel movies, the Supergirl show, and Mickey Dolenz, which, as you know, was right up my alley, but it was just the weirdest combination.
Virtual Pop Expo, they're the ones that are doing that.
Yeah. But the people are trying to figure out, how do I make money from this? Because you used to make money from setting up the venue and establishing the mechanics, and we'll take care of getting the hall and getting people to come. You just have to buy a table from us and set up. Those people who have the experience, how do they make money in this new world when we're interacting directly with people? It's almost like the disintermediation of the publisher with Kickstarter. And now I'm really rambling, so sorry. Please go ahead. But yeah, I didn't know y'all didn't know about the virtual experiences where it's I've actually done a couple myself, not through Wizard, this summer for my other fandom, where it's, you make a donation, which was great because it felt like it was going to a good cause, and you get to submit questions to this particular guest. So
you don't actually get to talk with them one-on-one then.
Correct. Yeah. But I believe Wizard is enabling, they were like, you can do a 2-minute, meet and greet kind of thing. Oh. I had no idea how much it cost because I did not even look into it.
And if it's the same kind of price bracket as Virtual Pop Expo, it's anywhere between $50 and $75 for, I believe, anything like a 3 or a 5 minute conversation.
Yeah.
And that's with the likes of Shatner. If it's a group thing, it's $75, and you get 5 minutes with the TNG cast or as many Power Rangers as they can find that weekend. It's like you say, it's a way for them to kind of supplement this revenue stream, which has suddenly vanished.
Well,
in a heart.
Well, there was in mind that these stars also make a lot of money on these with guarantees, and so that's an income stream that they may be looking to replace, particularly if you're not currently working, which no one is. So.
There was of course, in Florida, they had a con, like a 3-day con, and the big guest was Jason David Frank. And I don't know how distant they were, but I'm sure they were distant, although it was Florida. So, hey, Jason David Frank is willing to go and meet his fans. I mean, to be honest,
the Power Rangers.
Yeah, he's the Green Ranger. But I wouldn't
wearing a cap and wearing a mask over his face like that. You couldn't even tell. You couldn't even.
Yeah. So I haven't looked into the details of it, but I wouldn't want Shatner meeting people, but you know what? I'll tell you, like, if you got a chance to talk to William Shatner, just pay your $50. The guy, you can come up with some question and ask him something, because he'll come up with a gonzo answer and it'll be brilliant.
See, that's the thing. I think in a way, this expands the opportunities because a lot of people can't travel. You know, the whole mishigas of going to San Diego is like hotel and badges. It's all very expensive and very complicated. And to be able to talk to one of your idols for $50, I mean, that's a bargain. Or so I'd pay $100. You know, not a Shatner fan, but there are definitely people that I would pay that money to see. But I also think it opens it up to more people. You know, it kind of democratizes the con. But at the same time, like that's the consumer facing front end. There's also the back end of the con, you know, where people are like taking meetings and they're in the little rooms and also relevant to our interests, the publishers make all their announcements. It seemed like it was a really slow rollout this year. Like usually the week before San Diego, and one of the reasons why you don't get any sleep and I don't get any sleep is that, you know, everything's embargoed, everything comes out, we write them all up. Like half the news is written up before we ever set foot on the con floor. Then we have to go to the panels to get the announcements and get those up on Twitter and on our news sites right away. You know, and it seems somewhat more leisurely, although I have to admit I didn't sign up. I forgot to sign up for press credentials, so I'm not getting the usual deluge of
Well,
a lot of that news
it's
is
not
gone.
a deluge.
No.
It's a
But
trickle.
see, the news is gone because they aren't releasing movies. Books have been delayed. They're not doing book tours. They're not putting out as much material, so there's less to talk about.
right.
I'd still say there's some comic book news, but it's all happening this week. It's all kind of happened from the weekend on. Like you say, usually we'd be getting 2-3 weeks of this and kind of like this rolling news. It's all happened in the last not 24, but certainly the last 48 hours. I mean, the Keanu Reeves book, the book
the Oscar Isaac book. I mean, this is, you know, this is a little bit of a heartbreaker for me because, you know, like I love these celebrities blundering into the world of comics and, you know, you get to ask them, you know, well, do you like writing comics? Oh, it's such a valid, I could only tell this story in a visual format. You know, I love those conversations, but
It's pretty much the same interview every time, but yeah.
but you get to hear Oscar Isaac say it. I mean, holy cow. But yeah, all these like dumb celebrity so smart. Wonderful move, Keanu, Oscar.
Keanu Reeves, like the press release from Boom Studios, it was like the most phoned in quote ever. It was like, yes, I've always loved comics and it's been a dream to work with world-class creators and he named the entire creative team, including no shade, but the letterer. Keanu Reeves knows who the letterer is.
He's classy. Come on, he's classy. But yeah, well, has there been any news that we've noticed that was of interest? Literally birds. Literally.
My back window there. Yeah. I don't know. Well, I'm not on the list because I when I decided to go to San Diego this year, I think it was the end of last year, and I think I had missed the press registration, which you have to do like a year in advance. So I was begging Heidi to put me on her cruise.
I did. I thought I did. Didn't I send you a press badge? I thought I did.
Well, I mean, by the time we figured that out, there was no con, so it was not relevant. But yeah, I was gonna string for Heidi, so that would have been fun. I would have been taking assignments like the old days. But so I'm not on the list. So the things I think the thing I saw that I actually paid attention to was the third Bill and Ted movie is coming out September 1st, both in theaters and on demand. So we don't have to go out and contaminate ourselves.
IDW, a lot going on at IDW.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got big personnel turnover, and they also had some announcements today. They're doing is it a Doctor Strange kids graphic novel?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, they're continuing.
They do the Marvel Action line, and so they're doing like a Halloween special out of that with some of the spookier characters.
Oh, let me see. I'm just checking my email now. I've gotten some stuff from DC. Let's see. What are they saying?
I'm looking forward to it because I mean, it's felt like IDW have been in a kind of like a holding pattern certainly for the last year. This could be the next chapter. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. I mean, then again, I'm also looking forward to see what Chris comes up with because with that ridiculous imprint or company that he's now forming with the ridiculous name.
Yeah, I think the name of his company should have been World of Interviewing at DC because you know what? They should just hire the guy. You know, DC, nobody has to work in the office. Let him stay in San Diego. Hire Chris Ryle. DC could really use him. You heard it here.
I mean, for me, I'm going to finish up here and I'm going to type up Dynamite news. The fact that Dynamite panels got pulled from the at-home lineup, and the fact that the creators that did the panels didn't even know. They didn't even know until...
Are you kidding?
They didn't even know until I told them, which was last night.
You
Well,
think?
one of the creators on that panel was the one who said he wasn't working with Dynamite anymore because of their association with Comicsgate. So
Yeah, that's it. It's pointless for them to do a panel on books which the creative team aren't even related to anymore.
Or disavowing, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how to put this politically or politely? IDW wasn't in a great place. They've had a lot of financial problems.
They were that close to closing the doors.
Yes, exactly. And they have, they have a lot of money behind them. I mean, they're not going to run out of money, but they could become a money sink, and that would be bad. I was talking about this in a previous call somewhere. I'll say this, I've had a very busy Thursday, day one of con. I've had 2 Zoom streams. So it's almost like I've had that busy day where I haven't had, so it's good. I went and had some ice cream. So, all right. For IDW, a lot of their shows that were on Sci-Fi have been canceled, So a lot of companies that, look, let's be honest, we're relying on media money, got some media money, and now the media money's ending. Archie, they only have Riverdale on now. All their other shows got canceled, I believe. And, IDW has Lock and Key, but their Sci-Fi shows, I think Winona Earp is up. Vault had Vagrant Queen, only lasted 1 season. And there's quite a few other shows that are, one and done. So this money spout is, needs to be replenished for a lot of publishers.
And the interesting thing about that too, because I do the monthly, book scan reports for ICV2, one of the many fine websites that I write for, is that you really see the Netflix effect, and it's always backlist stuff, right? Like The Boys, the Umbrella Academy. Like the Umbrella Academy, didn't they run out of books? They did.
Like,
this stuff's been sitting around. Those books have already paid for themselves. And now the show comes along. I know there's a lot of development money and stuff like that, but in a way, it's kind of free money for the publisher. So that has definitely, boosted a lot of bottom lines.
I'm wondering how well the books for Old Order have sold. Old Order?
Oh, right. Old Guard.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, they just put out the 5th issue of the 2nd miniseries, which concludes the miniseries last week, I think. So that's fairly good timing for people who are interested, although I'm sure they would prefer books.
Wasn't there a Queen and Country TV show too? I mean, Rucka was doing well.
There was an option, I think. I don't know.
No, it was on a bus. I saw it on a bus.
Really?
There was Queen and Country. Yeah. I think. I've lost track. I can't even keep them straight anymore.
Yeah. No, there was Atomic Blonde. Is that what you're thinking of?
Nope.
No, okay.
No, Ruckus had a lot of things optioned and brought to the screen. He's actually done quite well.
Well,
I know he's got.
is a relative form as someone who sat through the Whiteout movie. So yeah.
I know his absolute dream is to get Lazarus running, and that's the one because the rest of them he's just let go and let other people do. Old Guard he wanted to have a real strong hand on, but Lazarus he wants that one just for himself. That's his baby.
Yeah. Well, I mean, more power to him. Good luck. But I agree. Old Guard is a really good test case for the Netflix bump.
One of the top 10 things ever on Netflix from original programming within just 2 weeks, right? So a lot of people interested there.
Well, it's also, we're all stuck at home with nothing to do.
What else is there to watch?
I mean, just a tiny background detail, maybe a little asterisk, 154 game season.
If we're talking asterisk, let's talk about how invalid the Eisner Awards are going to be this year.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
A lot of people who wanted to vote didn't because they heard about the problems and then they were not invited when the voting reopened. So
I've got absolute faith in Jackie in putting a good show on, but I've got not a great deal of faith in the awards themselves. Not this time around.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think it was just a really old website. I mean, it hadn't changed in a decade,
It's been doing this all along.
Yeah. Well, no, No, it might not have been doing it all along. The thing is just that, browsers change. Like if the browser is becoming more sophisticated and the website is not sophisticated, you can have problems.
I hear you.
They're also located in California, which has some of the strongest data protection laws in the country. So it's sort of, up to them to be aware of that kind of thing.
I do have to say that I thought this was a pretty strong year. I thought the judges did a good job.
I agree.
I would say that this would be one of those years when to be nominated is almost good enough, especially since we don't really know. We'll know who won, but you're right. There's going to be an asterisk.
But maybe it'll be the other way around. I mean, normally it's like, if there's, best series, Scott Snyder or Tom King will win. I mean, no offense to Tom or Scott, but it'll be a big DC book will win. And maybe this year it'll be something that's a little more off kilter, because I do think a lot of people tend to vote for, the books that are a little bit better known. So who knows? We'll see. I agree. It's an honor just to be nominated or not nominated like The Beat, but whatever. I mean, no sour grapes. I mean, nothing there, but anyway.
Yeah, no. Actually, I was impressed that 2 short box comics got nominated. Maybe they'll win, because you're right. In the voting, it does tend to be a bit of a popularity contest, which is why I just like to look at the nominees.
I just like going along for the party, frankly.
Oh, that's another thing I'm going to miss, the Eisners.
I'm one of the rare kind of Comic-Con fans that actually go to the Eisners. I enjoy going to it. Me and Matt Dunford kind of like photobombing people. It's great.
So, when you, Leonard, I have a question for you. When you started to go to Comic-Con, was it for the comics content or for the entertainment content?
It's a bit of both, because I've been a comics fan, a sci-fi and comics fan I was a precocious little shit when I was a kid. So I started real young. So I was being like Philip K. Dick age 7 and Asimov age 6, that kind of thing. So I was into sci-fi, comics, the work. Comics is where I attending first love. So, I was attending all the comics panels when I went to the first one, which I went to. So no, comics are certainly my priority. I mean, the fact that I've done a post on my site over the amount of comics content that's part of the live streaming, I'm very proud that Comic-Con International is still representing very hard with the comics content, new readers, education in comics. It's that gets my juices running.
I have to interrupt here to say, who's your favorite Doctor?
Favorite Doctor? Right. My Doctor is always the one that you grow up with, which is Tom Baker. But I'm a William Hartnell guy. I'm a classic. So.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm Troughton and Sylvester McCoy, and then Tennant. So.
Tennant was robbed. How we only had one season of that man is an absolute crime.
Tennant? No, Tennant had 3.
No, not Tennant.
Eccleston.
Sorry,
I agree.
Eccleston.
I'm an Eccleston.
It's very late here.
You know what? I was going to say it is very late there, and it's thank you so much. Like, if you need to turn in,
no. Well, I'm on. But I think when we were talking on Twitter, I'm on Pacific time now. Because I'm in Comic-Con mode.
Oh, okay.
So I'm in Pacific time. So no, I'm up for a couple more hours yet.
Yeah. But actually, I do agree. I like Eccleston, like the fact that he was so stupid and just was like, I don't need this. Like, oh, yeah, let me wear some makeup in a Thor movie. That'll be my future. So, yeah, nice. Sayonara. I don't like Doctor Who. I have no skin in the Who game.
Yeah.
I am busy watching all of them.
Certainly being in a line. That first year, 2010, I know my Who reasonably well, but I had to be a goddamn expert that year because everybody who heard the accent. And to be fair, when I do go to the States, the received pronunciation does get ramped up just quite a little bit. So no, the accent comes out, and they, oh right, Doctor Who fan. Oh, well, Doctor Who and then Black. Doctor Who and then Black Books. Sorry?
Yeah, not all English people like Doctor Who.
I didn't wait until he said sci-fi fan.
No, it's usually the conversation goes, Doctor Who, Black Books, bit of Blackadder sometimes. Yeah, they just rattle down the British creations.
No, Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
That came up. That suddenly the first year that came up. I kind of threw somebody a look when they said Sapphire and Steel. That was a deep cut. I mean, that came out of nowhere. But yeah, usually it's Who. It was Who for the first year.
Yeah. Well, stereotypes die hard. So, yeah. No Comic-Con. But has anybody watched any of the online panels?
Yes. I've watched the New Mutants one, and I'm about to go off and watch Marvel HQ.
Oh, that's right. They're having that. So I was actually excited. Oh, go on. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, that's the thing that is really interesting to me now, because they've also just put, they dropped into the listing called Marvel. It's the Joe Quesada panel, and they literally just dropped it in.
Oh, Cup of Joe.
Yeah, well, it's something to do with their documentary series.
Oh, the 616, Marvel 616.
No, it's another one. There's another one that he's done. There's another one they've done. But it's the fact that they literally dropped it in. They didn't even announce it, at which point you just go, okay, so Marvel are doing stuff at Comic-Con this year. What else are they going to drop
Comic-Con, at Comic-Con.
Comic-Con at home, yeah.
Yeah. Well, did you see that ReedPop just announced that they're doing their own MegaCon, or what was it called? Megaverse, something like that?
Yeah.
And then there's...
I spotted that. Go on.
Yeah, and then there's Fandom, DC Fandom. I can't imagine anything that sounds more terrifying.
Yes. Well, they announced that a good month or more ago, and that's their and that's kind of weird. They're doing like movies and comics and kids and you. I guess like for the cosplay or something, but I mean, it's. I did check out Amazon's one of the big co-productions with Comic-Con right now, and they had a whole, of course, they're promoting a lot of their original content, especially, I think it's called Utopia, which is about a search for a graphic novel. And they were actually doing something physical involving the boys, where if you went and clicked on it, you could customize something. They would, and I thought this was really creative, because most everything is just, we'll send you a PDF. And I went out there, they opened up this morning, and I went out, it had to have been like 9 a.m. East Coast time, and it was all gone. So apparently they had very few of the physical items.
Well, I looked at the YouTube channel last night, and some of the panels had thousands of views. I mean, all of them had like nearly 1,000 views. So it's not like these were, more people were actually seeing these panels than would have seen them in the room for sure, so.
And that is, sorry, one of the nice things about this is that, like always, I'm like, I sit down with the program on the first day, and I'm like, I want to see this, I want to see this, I want to see this, and then then I have to do my assigned panels, and I have to meet people, and I want to spend time on the floor, and I always end up missing the panels. So it's actually really nice to have them online. Right. What are we doing this weekend? Watching panels. You can watch them anytime, right? You don't have to watch them when they're finished.
No, but are they staying up forever, or?
There's apparently a couple of the major media panels which will be pulled relatively soon. So I'm not expecting the Star Wars universe one to stay up too long. I'm not expecting the boys to stay up too long. The Amazon Prime ones might get pulled. The Bill and Ted one might get pulled shortly after it goes.
But just the media ones, not the comics ones.
No. The small panels
right.
Stay up for a while, or in perpetuity, apparently.
Like when you get five people on a panel discussing a topic, they're all really interested in, like 5 creators, which I noticed there are a couple of. Like those are the ones that I really like, that I won't be writing up for any publication. I just like to see it. I like to see what they say,
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to do those.
I mean, I've been saying on my podcast that we need to watch these. I mean, like I say, there's most of the panels have got some pretty decent views across the board. At the end of the day, we were kind of promised this a couple of years ago with Comic-Con HQ, which was going to be their streaming service, at which point it was legendary that we're pretty much licensing the name. And we effectively, they just thought that nerds wanted another G4, which we didn't.
Yeah, well, nerds didn't want G4, so.
No, well, this is exactly. What we wanted was the panels. We wanted to actually experience Comic-Con. We wanted what we're getting this week, which means if we don't watch these things, if we don't watch the panels and we don't hit like, we don't support them, then they're not going to put those panels up again in future years when the con returns. Because at the end of the day, it's like yourself. I want to see these panels which I would have missed, and I want to see the ones which would have clashed with something else. We get the chance now to see them. We get to see the gamut.
Yeah, it's they're so inventive this year. I mean, there's so many people on these panels. Like Junji Ito is doing a panel, and there's so many people appearing in the programming that you would never actually have seen at Comic-Con. So, I mean, it's sad for some people who are going to be special guests who don't get to be the special guest. Oh, that's so heartbreaking. But it really is. I do give the San Diego Con a big props for what they did. I was just thinking, though, I'm going to say something that's going to make you all kind of sad. And I think, having been as long as I have, like, Leonard, you say 2010 was your first year, right? So
yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you how the con. I mean, you said that you're still excited about it now.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, I mean, but it changes and it becomes more about what you, like I said, it's like you, like, can you still run that marathon? Can you still find things? But I will say 2010, that was the year of Scott Pilgrim, right?
Yeah. That was
okay. And also, so when I did for my other Zoomcast, we rewatched Comic Book the Movie from 2002. We watched the Morgan Spurlock documentary, which was filmed in 2010. And then we watched, there was Con Man, starring Alan Tudyk, starred, directed, and written by, I was very impressed by that. I had never seen it. And then Kings of Con. And I actually think that Comic-Con may have peaked in 2010. And so, because I feel like that year's, there was so much for Scott Pilgrim. It was so huge. And the reason why I say that also is because all this media came after it. Like, I feel like Hollywood was like, oh, we've got to make a documentary about Comic-Con, and like, oh, we need to make a sitcom about someone who goes to Comic, it's like, it seems like the extra media came right about that time. And,
so I'm looking up what year Snakes on a Plane was. That was 2006, because that was the year that everybody was like, oh, we'll go to Comic-Con, we'll launch it, it'll do great. And that's when people started questioning the Comic-Con effect, whether it was really worth the effort and the time and so forth. And then so Scott Pilgrim was 2010, and that did not do as well as hoped either.
No.
Yeah, but now it's a cult movie.
I'm just going to say it's aged like a fine wine.
Oh, yeah. Totally. When was Twilight? When did Twilight go to Comic-Con?
2012, 2013.
That was the year that the Twihards ruined Comic-Con. Remember, there was so much conversation about girls who just showed up and were just as enthusiastic as anybody else, but about something different.
That was the year.
They didn't know how to do con right. That was the accusation, that they weren't really there for the right thing.
That was when the Sleeping Out started. Was the Twihards who started the Sleeping Out. Leonard, did you sleep out your first year, or?
Not the first year, but I have slept out. Yes.
Right. Well,
indeed, one of the years, which was 2017, was possibly one of the best nights I've ever had in my life.
But I mean, every year, my eyes, I from the Eisner rituals, after the Eisners, I hang out, but then I usually walk back to the Hyatt, and along the way, I talk to the people who are in line for the Warner Brothers and Marvel panels on Saturday, and those people are not unhappy. They are in totally it's like, would you rather, another night at home, I guess I'll watch the ball game, or, we're going to camp out, and who knows what's going to happen. Because, the stars didn't, who was the other, Matt Smith. Didn't he come by with donuts one morning for the people? A lot
of the one where they were trying to break America, because they made a whole big deal about touring Matt Smith around the U.S. in various combinations.
Yeah, but I mean, you might get a donut from Matt Smith if you sleep out. So
yeah, and then he'll appear on a panel about 2 really crap films.
Yes.
In case we want to jump back, I figured out what we were talking about. Marvel's storyboards season 1 will premiere for free on the YouTube channel starting today. Joe Quesada will explore the origin stories and inspirations of storytellers of all mediums, backgrounds, and experiences. The first episode will feature Hugh Jackman.
All right.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about.
But I think it's more a fact that for comic fans have been hoping that we would get, more comic content from DC and Marvel, etc. The fact that Marvel made a big fuss of that, we're not going to Comic-Con this year. That was the big thing, that we're not going to Comic-Con.
We're not going to Comic-Con. Nobody's going.
All right, they're not providing content at Comic-Con at home. But as it happens, they've dropped stuff into the at which point you kind of go, okay, so this is day one and they've dropped something into the programming. What can we expect the rest of the weekend?
Well, we haven't heard of any D24, D29, like Disney and Marvel have not announced, Marvel Dome. So, I think, I don't know. I think
that was the weirdest thing.
I know.
That was the year I did D23, and then the week after, because it was back to back.
I'd never.
Well, D23 was weird because it was the year that Star Wars and Marvel had pretty much been picked up by Disney. So there was this big rollout of this is now the stuff that we own. You see all this money that you've earned and that you're spending, this is where it's going to. And it was so strange because there was these people who really knew how to queue. I mean, I'm British. I know how to line. I know how to queue up. This was military grade, and this was Disney World training. And they just looked at us Comic-Con fans who clearly were coming to this before we went off to San Diego and just going, "You are in our house. You had better behave." So there was this, I've never felt like, okay, I'm an interloper here. This is weird. But no, there was these slightly large people with Mickey Mouse ears standing in very strict lines, and I was blown away, absolutely blown away that year.
Yeah, they know.
That's a different ballgame.
Disney knows how to put on an event, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the question. So. Now that DC is AT&T and Marvel is Disney, it's why should we go to other people's events? We'll just make our own, and then we can control all the messaging.
Well, there's so many spin-off events, like Skybound had their own event. I think Funko had their own event. By the way, did you see the Funko site crashed yesterday when they were trying to buy the exclusive? So, some things never change. But, Hasbro started to do its own event. So, obviously Warner Brothers is AT&T is spinning off their own event. So, we could see more balkanization. We could see more specialization following this.
This recalls the memory of the year many years ago when, I don't know whether it was Otakon or what, because I wasn't there, but a bunch of people got trapped in the airport coming home from an anime con, and Ed Chavez declared that they were going to have a mini con right there in the airport lounge, and they actually announced a new book. I always say where 2 or 3 are gathered together with Ed Chavez, there's a con. And maybe I'll try living room con.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about San Diego. I mean, for the last few years, at least, exhibitors have been talking about, you need to make sure it's worthwhile. You need to make sure you understand what your personal goals are. You probably will not make back your costs. Does it make sense for you to go? And a number of them have been bowing out. So we'd already lost. San Diego was never the place where you could go see everything.
Right.
It just wasn't feasible. One of the reasons I quit going was that it was an entire week of my life of vacation time, and it was a couple $1,000s. Now, admittedly, I am not a cheap traveler, but between time and money, that's a big commitment for people, unless they're turning it into a special event like a honeymoon or whatever, which is adorable.
which is why I'm now completely broke. Well, that was the thing. That was the really annoying thing about this year, because over here in the UK, we've had a thing for the last 4 or 5 years where you apply for a grant to get back the missold PPI, the insurance on your credit cards. And in February, I had a check come through because I applied for it at the end of last year, and I had a check for £4,500. We weren't sure how on earth we were going to do San Diego Comic-Con this year. And then this check rolled up and it was going to pay for our flights, it was going to pay for our accommodation. And I put out a tweet basically saying, we've had a staggering amount of good news. This one thing happened. It's guaranteeing that we're going to go to San Diego. It's going to be fantastic. And then the follow-up tweet was, yeah, and I'm waiting for the shoe to drop. A week and a half later, the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to go to London in April. I was going to go to Europe for the first time in, 30 years or something like that. And then this all came down. So.
Yeah, we were going to have rooms at the Hilton Bayfront. Remember that? You know, my freaking Google Calendar kept saying, stay at Hilton Bayfront. Stay at, I felt like, oh, how do I delete this from my calendar? I'm not staying at the, damn you. Oh, well.
Yes.
There will be now. You know what? I think there will be something next year, and it will be wonderful. So it'll be called Being Alive. You know,
I mean, I was going to ask, I mean, have either of you or any of you been directly affected, or friends, family, is anyone?
I mean, I know a lot of people who've had it, but luckily, knock wood, nobody seriously.
I've lost a couple family members and a friend. Yeah, they were all in their 80s, so they were in what you'd call the vulnerable population. But I also, Leonard, my day job is that I work for a city. I work for a small city, and I'm the mayor's assistant, so I'm kind of in the center of everything. Yeah. So I've been like hands-on with COVID since I got back from C2E2 in February.
Yeah. Fair enough.
How about you? How is it over there?
Yeah, how is it where you are?
Well, certainly where I am, Yorkshire is a little bit of a peak. I think Liverpool, London, I think there's a couple of other hotspots around. The numbers are coming down, but not as fast as many people would like. My family, I mean, yes, my wife contracted it. She only had, for a week, it basically felt like she was breathing lava.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
So she had she still has some breathing problems, but my father was the one that got hit very hard.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
5.5 weeks in bed without eating. That knocked him for 6. At the moment, he's just recovering. It's just a case of slow recovery, and it just reminds me every single time that you can't estimate this thing. You can't.
Right.
You never. Yeah. It really does kind of remind me that it's not something you disrespect.
Yeah, you make one mistake, right, and that's all it takes is one mistake.
I mean, the weeks before he contracted it, I think we can count how many times any of us in the house left the house about on one hand.
Wow.
It's just one moment, and it just knocked him for 6.
Wow. Well, I hope that everybody recovers from that. You know, it's a pandemic. It is a real thing that is not to be trifled with. And, you know, wear a mask. That's what I hate to say it, but in New York, you know, I mean, I'm sure we're going to have a second wave or something, but we did really well here. We're the most densely populated city in America, and we flattened the hell out of that curve. So, you know.
Boston too.
Yeah, and New England, like Vermont had has 0 cases now, 0 new cases.
Vermont has like 100 people. I mean,
well, I know, but it's a symbol.
Yeah.
I mean,
whereas my town had an anti-mask protest downtown today. So, yeah.
Wow. But no, since the lockdown kicked in, the podcast that I do on a Sunday. I went twice a week because, well, mostly because I wanted to keep the community occupied and doing something over the course of the week, but also to mark time, because otherwise I'd have just lost my mind working out what day it was and what was going on. So having that happen was, it was good to keep a sense of things. Yeah. But I had an influx of really good creators that were coming on. And the question I always asked with them was, what would it take for them to go to a convention again? And every single one of them just went, we need a vaccine. That's it. A vaccine or I ain't bothering. And you just go, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that effectively closes a lot of cons, or the option of a lot of cons down, because legacy creators, they're not going to get on a plane. Yeah, it's
Right.
something else.
It's going to be a long time, and you know, that's why we've all learned how to Zoom.
The tiny, tiny, tiny silver lining is that I now have a Doctor Who mask, a Legion of Superheroes logo mask, and a couple Sherlock
Star Wars
masks.
one
People
today.
have started making geeky ones. So.
I know. I gotta get. I only wear the medical one, so I gotta get some good fun masks. So because I'm gonna keep wearing that mask.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I better go write up some news. So, and I know Leonard's got to write up some news too. So, it's late there. So, what, Brigid? I'm sorry. What?
Oh no, I have some too. Yeah. Well, I'm getting assignments.
Yeah. So I think we all need to go. But this is awesome. Thank you so much, Leonard. Thank you for joining us. This is really fun.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me into your hotel room.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, it's a Zoom hotel, whatever. You know, next year in San Diego.
Yeah.
So for sure.
Absolutely.
And where can we find everybody, by the way? Plug.
Ladies first.
So I'm on at the Good Comics for Kids blog at Smash Pages. I'll be doing a lot of writing on Smash Pages. ICV2, I'm covering some con stories for. Watch out for my comics and civics piece at School Library Journal. Should be going up pretty soon. And I write the occasional piece for Publishers Weekly. So yeah.
And on social media, Brigid, you can be found at.
I am at Brigid Alverson. You just have to spell my name right. Brigid, just like the Irish. And Facebook.
So comicsworthreading.com. I am working on some pieces for Brigid at Good Comics for Kids for the School Library Journal. I'm always working on pieces for Brigid at School Library Journal. And Twitter, Johanna DC.
Awesome.
For myself, it's Englishman SDCC. I have a relatively new website called The Convention Collective, which is supposed to be about Comic-Con news, but it's about pop culture. It's across the board at the moment until I get things a little bit more tidied up. But if you search for An Englishman in San Diego, that's pretty much where you'll find me.
Awesome. And of course, I am at The Beat, comicsbeat.com, and Comixace, COMIXACE, across all social media. So, well, gang, you know what? It wasn't quite as much fun as being at the Hilton Bayfront and, you know, drinking those blueberry mojitos, because those are good. But this is fun. This is a lot of fun.
Thanks for putting this together, Heidi. It was good.
Well,
and to meet Leonard. So
yeah, I keep trying to do this. So, but don't forget, you will see us again. At least me, Johanna, and Brigid, and Deb Aoki with some other special guests will be joining us in our hotel Zoom room. And on Saturday at the same time, 6 o'clock EDT, 3 o'clock Pacific time. I'm sure we'll have all the news from Warner Brothers' big Hall H presentation and everything else. So until next time, it's not going to come out right, but we are 3 women and a man in a hotel room.
That sounds so weird.
All right. Until next time. Ciao.
Be safe.
All right. Hold on.